What's up, guys? We're live. I am KJ. I'm here with Ruff. We got two guests here. You know, Midnight, aka Jared's gonna join us in a little bit. But we got on the top left, Chadman from Down Under, and Wisecracks from PA. What's up, guys?
Nice, mate. How are you? Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, so Jesse, we're talking about business. We thought, why not talk about some business stuff, StarCraft stuff with people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
try to.
Yeah, well, you know, so Wisecracks here. You know, he's an interesting character. I've met him.
Chad, I can hear you, but I don't hear anybody else.
You don't hear anyone else? Are you guys good? You guys can,
I can
hear fine,
everybody.
right? Okay, so maybe Wisecracks having an audio issue, but
I
yeah,
actually only can hear Chad.
You can only hear me.
I can only see me.
Yeah, okay, so guys, we're having, you know, as usual, the NA sound guy is here. But
drop out of the call and jump back in.
So Mizel can probably help him out. But for now, let's talk to Chadman here, who is from Australia. Tell us about yourself, man. I know you know, everyone knows you in Australia, I feel, right? But for those in NA,
I mean, the StarCraft scene, yeah, they should do. They've been around for a while. I started off, you know, as a young kid, loving Brood War, playing heaps of Brood War as a kid. You know, that's kind of like my background is that kind of game. And then as I got older, you know, StarCraft 2 came along. That was fun. I got asked to help out because, you know, I know how to organize things. Got asked to help out with a team at some point, and then ended up managing probably one of the bigger, more successful teams in Australia. I mean, arguably, I'm not going to get into debate on that, but I reckon probably in its prime, probably the strongest and the best team. You know, we had players like Petraeus and Aegis up through our ranks. You know, so you know before they went off to the US, that's where they. You know, we always used to joke that Root was we were Root's academy. You know, we had Fenner as well. They all went off to Root, so we were the academy for Root. They kind of, because the Australian scene's so small that, you know, we know that we didn't have the opportunities for these guys that they needed to be the best they wanted to be. So I think for us it was all about growing some talent, and we were proud to see them go off to these bigger and better opportunities. So it was awesome.
What team?
But that's me for StarCraft.
Yeah, you might as well.
That was
that team.
Frenetic Array. Oh, it's not around much these days. I'm done with this stuff. So, but Frenetic Array was the team back in the day. So,
gotcha.
that's why, you know, a lot of people around Australia and StarCraft and the StarCraft scene should know who I am. And that's my background. And then from that, after StarCraft, and that winded up about 5 or 6 years ago, I, you know, still involved, still around, but focused more on business. Growing my business and focusing on that as a realtor. So I sell real estate.
Oh, there you go. You're a realtor. So
yeah.
So how long you been a realtor?
7 years.
7 years. So I don't know.
Not a huge long time, but it's a fair whack. You know what you're doing. I mean, real estate in Australia, there's like 70% of new real estate agents don't last more than 12 months because it's not an easy job. Like it's a 6 to 8 to 7 day. I was showing, it's Sunday today. Normally don't work, but I was showing a house this morning. A couple of properties this morning. So, you know, when you need to be there, you've got to be there because it's big money. It's a big deal, you know, and you're dealing with people's life's assets. You know, you've got to look after someone's life savings. So you can't take that kind of stuff for granted. So it's a tough, demanding career.
Yeah. So I don't know too much about it except the fact that I've dealt with a few realtors about houses in the past, and they're very service oriented. But they also can relate to you in terms of that you're making the biggest purchase decisions. So pretty good with you.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, obviously, like with any big business, there's lots of games and lots of nasty stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But I try and avoid that stuff. I don't think that's a way to grow your business, and it's just going to give you some short gains. And I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons anyone in business has learned, whether it's investing or, you know, if the gains are too short and it sounds too easy, there's a catch to it, right? There's no shortcuts in business, in my opinion.
Oh, that's very true. We'll come back to you. Let's talk to Wisecracks. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So he said something really cool about there, which is, you know, connecting with the client, right? Them believing you, right? You're not playing games with them, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, you're an invest. Tell
Yeah,
us about your job, and you can echo that sentiment, maybe.
yeah. I mean, a lot of what he just said is, across the board for many industries. But you're dealing with people with their life savings. Like you're dealing with people that are ready to retire, and they're, you can't just call them. It's not like the 70s or 80s where you can just call them and they're like happy to get a cold call and be like, oh, cool, somebody wants to talk to you about my money. Like, these people are entrusting you to, help them live the rest of their lives out. So I mean, you can't, like no one just does that. It's not an easy thing where people are like, oh, I'm just gonna find clients out there. I'm gonna go to seminars and I'm a personable person. I'll get it. It's like you really gotta you just have to have people believe in you and trust you, man. It's just like anything.
Yeah, they can smell you too if you're fake, right? And if you're a
Yeah,
sleazy
there's a saying, like,
salesperson.
when I first started this business, some of the dinosaurs used to tell me like, you don't join the yacht club if you don't own a yacht. Because the people that yacht and the people that boat, they're like, you're just what are you here?
They'll smell you out.
Yeah.
They'll smell you out. So you got to be genuine. You got to
Genuine.
stick to a
Yeah.
niche that you're comfortable with.
There's a saying in real estate called commission breath. When someone speaks, you can just smell the commission on their breath.
Commission bread. I like that. I like that.
And you can just
tell-
sense it. Yeah.
You can tell they're selling you. And in my business, my line of business is in IT, software services, etc. And sales people are important, right? But there are some that are persistent, and you can tell they're not really trying to get to know you and your business. They just kind of hop on and try to sell you something you don't need. And I hate dealing with that. So that's great to hear that you guys are focused. That's why you guys are successful. I mean, you guys say that, right? That's important.
I hope so.
I think the thing. Yeah. Oh, you go.
I was going to say, the one thing that I think is one of the really common misconceptions about real estate agents, or realtors, as you call them in the States, is that our job is selling houses. Like, yes, that's what we do. That's our function. But really the difficult job, the sales job, starts with the owner of the house. You might know an owner of a house for 6 years. You might be talking to them, giving them updates on what the market's doing, meeting them around the place, seeing them, talking to them about other properties that sold in their neighborhood before you earn their business. And that's the real client. Like, the client's not the buyer. The client is the seller. I'm a selling agent. I know in the States you have buyers agents quite prolifically. We don't really have a lot of buying agents in Australia. We just kind of go with just a selling agent. So it's, that's where the business is. It's not actually in selling houses. Someone likes a house, they'll buy it. Your skill is getting a bit better price, but no one's ever bought a house they didn't want to buy. Well, I mean, rarely, right?
Yeah.
So the skill is actually in building the trust and relationships with the owners of the homes, and eventually you get that house to sell.
Jesse, you bought a house. Is he telling your experience there?
Yeah, he sure
I
is.
mean-
And it's weird because I actually had to refinance my place as well. So I had to go through another agent to do that. And it was probably the best thing I could have done because, I had equity in the place and I took that money out, even though I had to pay the agent, I think for my place, it was about a little over $4,000. I actually got that money back.
Hold on. You don't have to talk about straight numbers on this show, by the way. So, just
Talking
FYI.
numbers. Well, but it was a great thing, and it's the same as like when I go to restaurants and stuff like that. I tip really well, and I think
My
that
man.
everybody, like, a business flows, by having customers and having good customers. So if you're going out there and you're trying to buy something and you're trying to grow your own business, you have to hire somebody to go ahead and do that. So spending money sometimes gets you money, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing. So when I refinanced, I took that money, I threw it in equity, like other investments, and then that grew even faster.
Nice.
And then even my place kept growing because I had an option to sell it,
Yep.
but I didn't decide not to. You know what I mean? So now it's even more than what it is.
Yeah. So I love what you said there about tipping generously, right? I feel
Yep.
that I'm a good tipper. Just part of it is because I was a waiter, so I know what that's like, right? So I'm kind of like extra on that. Wisecracks, you deal with people, right? I have an investment advisor. We talked about that. You give you think about investments, but you also look at way more than just stocks and bonds and that stuff. But you're behind you. Look at all that stuff behind you. I think those are collections, investments, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I mean,
tell us about that.
about this stuff in particular, or just
Yeah.
like just.
What?
Yeah, man, it's a new day, man. I mean, like I said, I'm in an industry where, you know, I was working in a place where I had no business being until like at my age kind of thing. So I was surrounded by the gray haired, you know, the silver fox dinosaurs telling me, you know, stocks, bonds, and cash. That's it. Stick to it, you know. And you can't go wrong with that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's better than just having a checking account and all. But today, I mean, it's hard to tell young people that like they're just seeing these insane returns on crypto and other stuff like that.
Crypto,
and then you go
yeah.
to even like you said, honestly, all this stuff was just to like have a cool room. But now, like these are like Pokemon cards. I mean, it was a joke. Like I was grading Pokemon cards a bunch of years ago, just being like, oh, these are cool little frames. It's like it's a picture frame. Like now, it's like a legitimate like these things are going auction for huge money. So, I mean, it's a new day. I mean, there's tons of stuff, and then you know, with the Fed just printing money and all the kinds of things like that. And you have Bitcoin out there, and it's all about becoming finite, and it's about scarcity and all this new, and then you have all this new NFT stuff that honestly I'm still kind of I don't know a little bit on, but I don't know. There's a lot of things you can put money in, and there's a lot of opportunity out there. So I don't know. That's all I got to say on that, I guess.
So I have a question. I didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't in esports for money or anything like that. That wasn't my thing. I know Jesse's full-time esports guy. I don't know too much about Chadman. If you came from starting off some job there or whatever, or you're doing that on the side for fun or what?
Yeah, I mean, for me, esports, I think when you're, because I ran teams, I managed teams, I got sponsorships, I helped players, I motivated players to be the better versions of themselves, you know. I think if in that role, if you're in it for the money, you're not in it for the right thing. Like for me, it was never about making money for myself. I didn't want to make, I put money in, it was always about, helping a scene in a community that I was passionate about. It was like I freely gave that time and that energy to help with the community and the scene that I was. I grew up with it as a Brood War player, and I grew up loved it as a StarCraft 2 player as well. So I think that's business and esports is a difficult thing. I don't think esports even on a bigger scale. I think there'd be marginal amount of teams in the world, like the big teams that are making like
money,
serious
right?
bank.
Yeah.
Most of them are like, particularly the original, like the early. I think it's very different now. There's lots of like, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. But there's lots of like merchandise and bits and like shirts and things that people are selling. They're making money. They make the big business these days. But for me, it was really just like an advertising. Like you were a bunch of players that had logos on your shirts from Razer or from Thermaltake or whoever it was. You were a marketing meeting, and that's my background is in marketing and advertising. But that's where I thought esports was really about, particularly in Australia where it wasn't big money. Like you might be making $2,000 if you win a tournament, if you're lucky, a few grand, whatever here and there. But it was for especially for the young kids that you're helping out, it was a chance to travel around Australia, around the world, meet cool people, meet their friends that they've never met online. So that was what esports was for me. Anyway, sorry, I'm waffling on.
No, it's an interesting subject. Go ahead, Wisecracks. You know about that being a benefactor.
Yeah, no, honestly, I actually just recently went back thinking, I was like, how did all this start? It's been so many years now. Honestly, I was watching a show match with Grubby and Minigun when he was on Root, and they were playing for like $100. And listen, like $100 is a lot of money. That can buy you a lot of stuff. That can feed you for a long time if you're smart. But I knew Grubby. I was like, the guy that plays stadiums in China, that Grubby, like the Warcraft 3 guy, like he's playing for $100 with Root Minigun. So I remember just tweeting In Control, God rest his soul, and just was like, hey, like I'll give you $200, $300 to do a Grubby match with somebody. I forget. The first match was I think Cat versus Zeno, if I can recall. But it just started with a tweet, man. And I was just saying these guys are so talented. Like these, some of these players are like people don't. The average person has no concept of how good and like how much further ahead than the average person these people are, and they're just as equivalent to these professional athletes that they spend thousands of dollars every Sunday to go and tailgate for. Like they're just as in the same level. So I was just stunned that a legend like that was getting paid $100. I just felt the need. I was like, dude, I would be more than happy to do that. And then it kind of snowballed from there, I guess. A little out of control, probably.
Yeah, this is really cool, guys. How did you guys get into SC2? Because I know Jesse, can you tell us about how you got into what you're doing now, I mean, you didn't start off thinking I'm gonna be a gamer, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is your full-time
I
thing, so it's
didn't. I
different for you.
actually didn't. Yeah. And it's funny because I kind of wish that you had an influence on me a lot sooner in my career, or if I had met someone like Chad Man, because I didn't have that kind of influence a long time ago. So I kind of got late into, getting things rolling in this StarCraft 2 scene. So for a long while, I was just a player. I just kind of played. I had fun. I played Brood War. I played StarCraft. When I started playing StarCraft 2, I streamed it, but I had a really crappy computer. It was very bad quality, but I had like 40 viewers. People loved watching what I was
It's
doing.
pretty good, right off
I
the
was like,
bat.
oh yeah.
People standing in a room, man.
So, and then I eventually joined a team and I was just playing with friends. You know what I mean? It was VVV. And then they were like, I went to the MLG, in Raleigh, which is where I'm at right now, and I just commuted there. I played in the event, and they're like, wow, you got really far, we're going to fly you to Orlando now. And I was like, what? That's actually pretty cool. And then I got sponsored to go fly to different places to compete. At that point, I really should have just focused on doing the streaming on the side as well. But I didn't have that kind of knowledge, you know what I mean? Like that business knowledge to kind of grow it. So for about 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, I didn't really do anything. I was just a player, playing the game. And then I was forced into doing streaming when I moved here because I decided to quit my job. I was a tutor at a university. And I did that for my ex-wife. And so I had no job. So I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and stream. So I started streaming, I put more hours into it, and I started seeing things like grow a little bit. I was like, oh, this is really cool, I didn't have very good quality. I didn't have the Twitter going. I didn't have the YouTube going and stuff like that. I only started recently doing that maybe 2 years ago. I started getting that kind of business aspect of things. You kind of helped me with that a little bit, KJ, just kind of learning things. And I started thinking about it. I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the retention when I started doing YouTube. And so when I started doing that for a year, I wasn't getting anything from it. I just did it for fun. I wanted to upload it for people who couldn't watch my stuff during the time. And then it started snowballing a little bit. And I'm actually seeing that right now. So it's really cool how you got to be passionate about something. You just do it. And then eventually it'll grow. There's a lot of people who kind of go into it. I remember joining a team called, I think it was Alloy Esports or something like that. And they just threw money out there, and then the guy went broke. It's you can't go like that. You can't do that. You have to make sure that you're stable, you're doing it out of passion. Yeah, exactly. So,
That doesn't
I learned a
sound-
lot of stuff in the
What was that,
past 2-3 years. So, yeah.
I was just saying,
That's
I mean,
when the streak kicked off.
so I was just saying, we saw that heaps in Australia where someone would invest a bunch of money and then try and make an esports team, and then they'd be like, I don't have the money for this anymore, and then the esports team dies after 6 months or 12 months or something like that. Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the things, what you're saying about streaming and even investing. Although this will sound a bit weird with investing, but any kind of business thing, in my opinion, you got to have a reason why. And money isn't a good enough reason, because money is cool, sure. But what are you going to do with the money is the reason. Okay, maybe your reason is you want to have a nice big house, you want to invest in this stuff, you want to have that financial freedom. That's the reason why. That's the driving factor. If you're just thinking about money, or I want to stream, or I want to be a YouTuber for money, I mean, you're going to get to 6 months in, you're going to have 20 viewers, and your YouTube videos get barely any views, and you'll be like, I'm not making any money from this, I'm out. Whereas if it's retention, you've got a reason, you want to engage in an audience, you keep growing and growing, and you're focusing on making yourself better and better. And that stuff, the money, in my opinion, if you focus on the reason why, or doing the right thing, or being the right person, the money will look after itself afterwards. Right? As long as you're focused in the right direction, obviously if you want to retain viewers, you're increasing your quality, you're advertising in different platforms, you're growing that TikTok, the Twitter, whatever it is you got, Facebook, YouTube, making a better thumbnails or anything like that, right? That's increasing the quality of the product, and that's in turn gives you more viewers, and that's how you get money.
Well,
it's got to be the
it's
last
kind of
thing.
similar, right? To what you said, commission, Brett. They can tell you're in it just to stream to make money, and then you're making a crappy product. I'm like, oh, this guy's just trying to get money, right? Versus,
I mean, yeah,
if you're
it's like those girls on Twitch that are like, why haven't you donated $5 to me? It's sub to me, and like people are like, that's disgusting. I don't want to give that woman any money. But then you've got like that guy from New Zealand, if you guys have seen him, that woodcarver from New Zealand, I can't remember, Brox is his name, right? And he's like, oh, bro, like, and New Zealanders that typically have like the nicest sounding accent in the world. Oh,
Link
bro,
that,
you don't
man.
have
I
to
wanna
give me
check him
money. Oh, cheers, bro. Like, he's so nice, and he
Yeah.
just gets heaps of subs, and like, but that's not what he's about. He's just about, you know, showing his culture and his community, right? So I think that integrity and honesty is what people seek in the world as well.
That's
Anyway,
so
sorry.
true, man. There was this guy that Hearthstone linked. It was the crane guy or something. This guy was streaming from his crane. He was just kind of working on his crane, picking stuff up, and I'm like, this is so cool. And he was, yeah, there was a crane guy. I was following him, watching him stream for a while. Of course, after a while, I'm like, all right, I'm done with cranes. But you know, it was kind of interesting when he was doing. Yeah, it was a crane guy from Hearthstone that you know. I'll have to find that eventually. So why Scrax, man? Yeah,
Yeah.
tell us, man. Tell us this SC2 thing. How the heck did you get into this? Did you follow the scene right off the bat or what?
My one of my oldest buddies, he bought StarCraft 1 the day it came out, and he called me because we were huge Command and Conquer people, and he called me and was like, "Dude, this is the best game I ever played in my life." And I bought it the second day it came out. So, and I just loved Brood War forever. So once I started seeing SC2 and all like the, you know, I got into all the MLG stuff and just got obsessed with that because I remember just growing up, you know, like I mean, I was in that kind of arcade era where like people were like, man, could you just imagine if you could just get paid to do this stuff? Like it was just such an unfathomable idea that once I started seeing it like a stadium with people and like people winning those giant checks that you see in movies, I was like, is this real like this? And I knew that was happening in Korea and like China already, but I just didn't think that was possible here, just because of the culture and all, just like the stigma to it all. But once I started seeing that, I started following. I just, you know, obviously, I mean, some of those early storylines and stuff like that were just so compelling, and the drama, it's crazy. So to answer your question, like I was into StarCraft already. It was just like my favorite game. I was a Blizzard head, which is why I'm so
Nice.
devastated these days. They seem to be fucking dropping the ball every other day. But,
Yeah, I can't believe, man.
yeah,
So
it's crazy. But yeah, no. So then I just, you know, fell in love with everything, and I think all the players and the personalities, and like you guys said, like the genuine people that like a guy like Polt or something like that. Like, how can you not love and want to follow and root for people like that or something? You know, there's just so many players out there that were, and then with Twitch where you could get into their, you know, follow someone like a, you know, like a Roddy or sort of like anybody like that, or just like, or you actually get to watch a Grubby talk, and like, you know, it's just, it opened up a whole new thing. And I think still some people that are old, like the generation a little bit older than us, like they still just they can't fathom it. They're like, I don't, you just watch
Well,
YouTube, like you don't watch anything else. It's like,
yeah, you know
I
what?
mean,
That's the big thing, man. I talk to people, the older ones who don't really get this gaming stuff or Twitch or anything, and I just tell them, look, if you guys could talk to, say, Kobe Bryant, LeBron, or whoever, right? They're practicing. You can chat with them. They know who you are, and if you're kind of hanging out, they start to recognize you. That's what it's like. It's really cool. Actually, Jesse, you look like you have some fans with questions for you, so feel free to answer that whenever you're ready. But
Okay.
you know, that is pretty interesting because you guys kind of we're informally talking about whatever. We don't really have any real structure on this show. We just kind of hopped on to talk about StarCraft business, whatever, right? But you guys, someone here brought up somebody from some of the early guys, and so interesting things in there. But while you read that, I want to ask another question. So, Chadman, right? You're dealing with a
Yep.
lot of gamers. You're helping them out. Of course, most of them have moved on to real life business stuff. It's very rare to be making a living out of esports stuff. You know, luckily, Pig's
Yeah.
doing well. He's a great personality. He's very fun to watch. He's an entertainer. He's a great caster, right? But he did compete for a while too. But what do you think
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that? You know, it's not easy. So
I think, well, one of the things when I was talking to the guys that I was working with, like Petraeus and Igers, and Petraeus is, you know, if anyone doesn't know, because he did drop off, he's like a very successful news reporter
yeah,
in New Zealand now, right? So like I've always said to them, you know, you've got to, if you want to be good at the game, right? If you want to be competitive, and if you don't, that's cool. Like, do what you want. If you want to be competitive, and a lot of these guys had that drive, that competitive edge, it takes a lot of effort. You know, you've got to work hard. You know, because, and I think probably what you're talking about before about how someone like, you know, me amongst my mates that I've been playing games with for 20 years, right? I'm pretty good at. I'm probably way better than all them at StarCraft, but I'm rubbish as well. Like Ruff would absolutely pound me every single day with one hand, And then there's the thing is that's wild and build up his ego now. But mate, there's people that would pound you every single day with one hand, right? And then there's people that would pound them. Like it's just the skill level of this game is so massive. So if you want to make some money out of it, you've got to work really hard. And for people like Pig, I think he's realized, dude, I make more money streaming and building personality, or Roddy, or all these other guys that have focused on this other element. And not everyone can do it. You've got to have a personality to be successful at it. So I think what I'd always tried to teach those guys was like, StarCraft is good. You want to play it. You want to be competitive, have fun with it, enjoy the trips around the country while you're young. It's awesome. You've got to have that backup. You've got to have that next step. You've got to have, what can I learn from this? And I think one of the things that teaches a lot of people is discipline, because StarCraft is a very disciplined game. If you're not disciplined, you'll muck up, you'll lose. So in business, you've got to be disciplined. I think one of the things that we talk about a lot in real estate is like, and you can take it to any business, right? Is you work hard to gain business. You advertise, you promote yourself, or you talk to people, or you prospect, right? You prospect for business. And then all of a sudden, when you get busy with that business that you're trying to sell or things you're trying to do, you drop off the prospecting, right? And that's where people's careers go up and down. In business, you do well, you do poorly, you do well, because you drop off those business growth activities, that prospecting stuff. And I think in any kind of business, you've got to maintain that and have that discipline. Sorry, I'm sure I'm getting into such wild tangents. I hope everyone's okay with that.
No. This is the spot for it. This is the spot for what you're talking
this
about.
is where we talk about it. So like that's what I'm thinking. Like one thing you've got to teach to anyone who's learning about business, whether it's you're teaching them about how to be better gamer, how to be better StarCraft player, how to commit to something. It's all about discipline, and it's all about like focus and drive. Like why was Petraeus so good? I can tell you he played more games than anyone else in Australia. Like ladder games, like 100 hands down, no one came close. That's why he got so good so quickly.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of games a season. So, and that, so there's, again, there's no shortcuts to these things. You've got to go through that process. And you've got to have that discipline. And that's the same for business. It's the same for investing, right? You see quick gains, you think you're going to do some well, you throw some money at some silly altcoin or some silly stock or something like that. You think, you make mistakes, you go backwards. You've got to be disciplined and smart. You don't buy and sell a pattern and a process, right? Anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah, all right. We'll come back to you. I have a question for your chat man later. But Ruff, do you have can you answer one of those questions? Or you have an answer for one of those?
Yeah, so let me see here. So I know Brad has been with me for a long time. He was on IVD Gaming with me, with the MLG as well. He is actually my oldest sub. He's about to hit the 100 sub mark here soon.
100 months?
100 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a while.
OG.
Shout out to you, man.
Nightshade. I heard of him before. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure if he has the free time, if you ever need some help, he's doing a lot of music right now. He's a DJ. I could always ask him. I get a little bit of business going with him for PSISTORM. But basically, he's asking what would happen if StarCraft cut down, because the NA scene has gone down. I noticed recently because of the new game, Age of Empires.
Yep.
But I still feel like StarCraft is the superior game. It kind of looks like an Age of Empires 2 that's, has better pathing and looks a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
So I still feel like StarCraft is that. I know that if Blizzard so I feel like from a business perspective, Blizzard, I think they're making a mistake, because StarCraft is a monopoly when it comes to RTS games, in my opinion.
Got it.
Had they just kept focusing on it, updating it, it could still be a very strong esport, and maybe with different ideas, it could still grow business for them. So I'm a little disappointed that it's kind of cut off and it's not continuing, to be honest. But you can see it with the NA scene. I'm practically almost the only streamer during NA, but during the EU streams, it's still super strong. You see like Hero Marine, everybody, major tournaments, but no tournaments for NA, right? So I think that's what he's really talking about. What will we do if that died down? I don't think it's going to die down, because I think that there's a hardcore, set of people who are still going to keep the StarCraft. until StarCraft 3 comes out or something, right? Because look at Brood War, it's still going, right?
True.
Still going, it's
True.
still going on with it. There's still funding. Tasos Artosis still going at it. I feel like it's the same thing with StarCraft 2. If magically it happened, I guess we would have to play a different RTS game. Because what other RTS games are there? Just like the New Age of Empires, right? So that's just how I look at it. It's going to keep going, in my opinion.
You guys played that?
I haven't played.
I haven't played it.
You
I
haven't
played the
played it
second
yet?
one a lot.
We may have to talk about that some other time. But we're talking about thinking about not the get rich quick investments. Right? I think Chadman brought that up, and of course that's your realm, Wisecracks. Tell us about how do you make decisions on what is good, what is a flash in the pan, that kind of thing. Like how do you go through? Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, you never really know. I mean, so that's the one part too. That some of it you have to really do your research because there's so many. Our world now is just bombarded with distraction after distraction and just snake oil after snake oil on top of bad marketing and crazy advertising and just clickbait. So it's hard to you can like choke on it. So we're back in the day, something would happen and then you had to wait for the newspaper the next day, even if they covered it that day, and then you'd have to read it or whatever. So, I mean, what I do in my business, like what we do, and without getting too technical, like we just have a filter system. So like almost like back in like the Deadwood, Black Hills era where you're panning for gold. We have screens and different things. I mean, I follow earnings essentially is what I do for companies. That's really what the stock market all is supposed to be based on, is earnings and things like that. Now with a lot of this, there's all kinds of, I mean, there's always been pump and dumps and crazy manipulation, but now there's some things are just, the valuations are out of
control, huh?
Out of the galaxy. I mean, like it's just like, and a
Too
lot
much
of it's buzz.
speculative value, right?
Yeah, speculative value. I mean, and that's, I mean, you just gotta, you don't even have to go back that far. Like during the .com bubble where, there was just these things called like potential earnings, and everyone was trading on potential revenues and all this crap. Or like, all these websites that just generated no money, but potentially could. Like we're just trading at these insane amounts, and then everything eventually, once people see through it, it kind of all cracks out. So things like crypto, though, I mean, honestly, that's here to stay. I mean, you had guys like Jamie Dimon, who's the head of JP Morgan. He at one point said it's a scam, and anyone who works in my company that trades it, you're fired on the spot. And not too long ago, he just said, "Oh, we're going to launch a new ETF for crypto," and so they're all these old heads are coming around to it.
Turning around.
I think the IRS. Yeah, the IRS is probably going to come to them eventually because people are just trading this stuff and not paying taxes on it. And power to them because screw the establishment for all I care. You know what I'm saying? Power to you. But at the end of the day, that will legitimize it at the end of the day too, which is what people want. Because once the IRS says, "Hey, give us your tax money," I mean, it's here to stay forever. So, but there's just a lot of stuff. Like there's a lot of these coins. Like I do believe in Bitcoin. I believe in that. I believe in some of the stories. But now I can't even say some of the words on camera because of these disgusting phrases, coins, or whatever. Like people are just trading absolute junk.
S coins.
So, but people are making big money and selling out of it. So I mean, I don't want to tell you if you're killing it and you're doing out there. I mean, if you have the hot hand.
Well, I'm going to say one thing on crypto: put money that you can lose, that you don't mind. It's not going to kill you. So that's what I have on there. I'm just like, okay, well, if something great happens, great, but it's just one of my investments. It's not a big deal if it. I mean, it is a big deal if it goes down, but it's not going to kill me, right? So that's my advice. Don't put everything in it.
I actually wanted to. Oh, sorry to interrupt. I wanted to add on to that a little bit because I started doing the crypto and investing this year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I hit that spike in February. That's when I started getting into it. So I jumped on the bandwagon with that Dogecoin, right? Worst thing I could have done. And then, but I started like learning from it, and I did a little bit of the day trading thing in the beginning just to kind of test it out. I was like, I'm smart enough, I can do this. But then I realized that it really does take patience. You have to like literally do your research. I'll look at articles. Is there something big happening? And base it off of those things. You can't just base it off of, hey, it's up and down here. Is it going to work?
Yeah.
So it does take effort as well when you're doing investments. paying attention to the news, paying attention to what's happening, what kind of like ecosystems are going to launch, things like that. And I finally learned about that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm very patient about it now. I'm waiting for things to happen, and you know, it's great because my mathematical mind just loves that kind of stuff right now. So yeah, I want to touch up on that.
Oh, yeah. I was just even gonna say, even in this world, like these collectible things. I just had an
Yeah.
auction company come up to me a few months ago to like interview me just because I was just putting a bunch of stuff up for them, and they asked me like, how do you know what to buy? Because there's just so much stuff. And like, if you were gonna buy Star Wars toys, I mean, dude, they've made 1 million. So like, is this one particular toy from 2 years ago that everybody got and they couldn't even sell them all because they you know they have 100,000 extra in the factory still or sitting like that's not gonna be worth probably anything more than what you paid for it. But the first ever Star Wars toy that was ever made in 1977, the first 12 figures, like there's always going to be power nerds that want that stuff. And that's where you see even like in the Magic the Gathering series, like the Black Lotus is by far the most expensive thing in that game. You can buy a mansion if you sold one of those. Like if you have the early out edition one, there's one on eBay right now for $800,000. And I know we don't want to talk figures, but I'm just
that's
like
crazy.
you had one of those and you preserved it and graded it and got a 9.5 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, whatever company you used, you're talking serious money. But then again, there's a billion Magic cards. So if you just decided, hey, I'm just gonna start buying them off the rack and grade them, like, you know, there's plenty of people in the StarCraft world that are deep in that'll tell you, dude, you're not even worth the cost of grading the card. It's worth 2 cents or whatever.
Yeah.
So you got to know what you're buying, and you can't. Same that goes with anything, whether it's comic books or Pokemon cards or stocks or crypto or art, you know, and everything. And then you even get into the speculative and kind of like subjective art world where some guy's art's worth a banana on the wall with duct tape sold for like
Yeah.
40 grand or something.
Yeah,
Which is just like, I mean, to me that's money laundering. I don't know, but whatever. I don't want to go down that road. But like that's just whoever has that kind of dumb money to pay for that. Then you had that one YouTuber that burned Pokemon cards on stream or destroyed them for fun and views, which is like he got more money from the freaking ads he ran than he lost on destroying the cards. So I don't even, the collector in me was like, my heart was shattering as I'm watching these really rare ones go into a couple of quarter. But then at the same time, the stand-up comedian in me is like, wow, this dude. Like,
The stand-up comedian in you. We gotta cover that too. Yeah.
I think that's the thing about like any sort of asset. It's got to have a value, and the value can be, you know, with art, it can be that there's a story behind it. Like the Mona Lisa isn't actually the most impressive portrait ever painted, but it's like one of the first of its style. It changed the way art was painted. Like it's got a big story behind it, and like it's the same for like I collect just out of fun, not for money, but I collect Nikes, right? Like shoes, and the Chicago's the original '85.
There's like apps for that. That's a big
yeah, but I don't collect them for money. I like to wear my shoes, right? But like, you know, the Chicago colors, the original red, white, and black, you know, like they have a lot of value. I mean, and the story behind it, like this was the first shoe that Michael Jordan made, and he's one of the greatest basketball. Like, you know, that's the color, that's the team he played for. That was the first color. Like, if there's a story behind it, there's a value behind it. Like, if it was just we make 1 million of this particular color of Nikes, they're not worth anything. Like, they're not special. So I think that's the same for collectibles. It's the same for, you know, art, all that kind of stuff. And then like crypto, I always think about crypto as like property, right? Property is a good investment. It's stable. It's there, right? You wouldn't buy a house. Like think about a crypto, right? An altcoin that could be worth $5 in a year time, or it could be worth a fraction of a cent. You know, like you have no idea. You would not buy a house that was built on a swamp, and you don't know whether in 6 months' time it's going to completely sink into the swamp and be gone, and you've lost everything. And you're like, or you wouldn't you wouldn't spend $1 million buying a nice house that the government can easily just like, oh, we're going to put an airport here, we're knocking it down, you can't live there anymore, we're not giving you any money. Like you would not do that, right? You wouldn't invest that, and that's what altcoins are, and that's what people don't think. Like, yeah, there's a gain, there's a massive risk, unless you've got like some play money and you don't care. It's stupid. Like, why would you ever do that?
One thing
that's where that research comes in. Yep.
Yeah, one thing I just want to throw in, and this is just something that I think a lot of people forget, and there's a term I think it comes really from sports betting and all. It's like they call it chasing it, where like you see on the news how much money is everyone making, you buy at the top, it goes down, you buy the dip, and now all of a sudden you're trying to chase back the money you lost and all that stuff. In the sense of what he was just saying, like the crypto thing, you just don't want to lose all your money, man. Like
Yeah.
Disney is a company that, like, listen, whether you like them or not, they're not going to go out of business tomorrow. It's
Yes.
mathematically impossible. I was just at Disney World. They print money. You could maybe lose 10, 12% on a really bad thing if like an economy issue or something on Disney. Crypto, you could lose 100% of your money. And to this
Yes,
point, like, you would
that's
never
so
buy
true.
a home. You would never buy a car that is just made of like sand or something like that. So,
Yeah, that's
but the reason
very-
I'm bringing this up though is what people don't, just really quick, the people don't recognize that, like, you see these returns on Bitcoin or you see these returns on some of this stuff. The odds that you would have held the entire time if you had them from pennies, if you had Bitcoin at $2, I promise you, you sold already. You didn't hold it to $60,000. Some people
Yeah.
did, and they probably were already rich because they didn't need the money. So they're like, hey, sure, just let it run. And some people did because they were maniacal and power toned it. If they were just like, I see the future, and they could nail it. But you probably would have sold after you made 1,000% or 2,000% or whatever. So just people, again, like, I feel like they feel like they missed out on the boat, and they go out and they make bad investments because they see all these other people that made all this money. You know, part of it is being lucky and being early in a lot of this stuff. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel the need.
No,
to
no, you're
Isn't
so
the
right,
old,
dude.
Isn't the old saying with stocks though? Sorry, just
Yeah,
the
sorry,
old
go-
saying
go
is
for it.
like you buy the rumor, sell the news, or something
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, yeah, because if you
Because by the time it's
when
news,
you
it's
see
gone.
something
You're already
spiking,
late.
yeah, you see something, oh my god, it's spiking, I missed it. Oh god, I missed it, and then you buy it. Like the next day, it's probably gonna go down because a lot of people just sold their shares because they didn't. They had it 2 months ago. And they're like, oh wow, I just made $1,000. I'm gonna sell and buy my way for whatever. So like, yeah, you know, there's, and not only that too, but there's now massive institutions that just trade on algos and they purposefully sell so that everyone panics and then they buy your shares. I mean, like that's
There's a
happens.
game there, that's for
happens.
sure. Yeah.
So you
know-
just gotta keep emotion out of it, you know. So.
I want to add something there. Now that you brought that up, Wisecracks, where you're saying, you know, you could completely lose your money on crypto. It's not like you bought a car for whatever amount. It's not going to be worth $1, right? We know it. If it still runs, it's going to be worth something, right? Well, with crypto, you know, did you see China banned crypto or something, right? Didn't we hear that? So imagine people there like, oh, what am I going to do this now? They have to send it somewhere else and do that. So that's the risk. And
Yeah.
and,
Some
you know,
people believe it's unbannable worldwide, and I can dig that too. I mean, like I said, I've had to talk to those really smart people, a lot of economists and stuff that are old school, but then also having to learn this new crypto world, or young kids that are already savvier with it. I can see the story. I truly believe a lot of this stuff. The problem is I don't know. I can't explain to an older person when they say, who invented Bitcoin? And I said, oh, it's this guy, they think, but they're not sure. It's an anonymous
it's
dude,
too hard to
but it's
explain to them,
probably-
man, what's going on. There's a
like,
lot of
okay, never
technical.
mind. I don't want to do it. It's hard enough to sell some people in the stock market, let alone an
Yeah.
untouchable coin that no one knows where it came from and no army on earth can hack it. Is it from aliens? Like, I mean, I'm obviously joking, but like, so it's just hard to sell on some people that are already, you know, risk averse or whatever, you know. So, you know, it's just tough. But
You also
I
brought
believe
up-
in it. I mean, I'm not here to poo-poo it.
You brought up something really good earlier too, where you said, you know, you probably wouldn't have held to Bitcoin that long anyway, right? Most people, human nature, if you know, it went from pennies to $1, $100, $1,000, you would have sold it, right? Maybe half of it or whatever, right? I had an opportunity to buy it at $500, and I was like, 500 is way too much money to buy into Bitcoin. I don't believe it. And then look, it kept going up, and I'm like, but I never really got into it, and I just put a little money. But I get what you're saying. Like, there's no way, you know, it's all hindsight 2020, right? So
if you buy something at $500, man, and it goes to $12,000, you killed it.
yeah,
in-
now
in
it's
the-
like
in the stock
64K.
market, you're talking-
It's crazy.
So I bought it $600, Bitcoin at 600, and I still hold it. this
Oh,
time.
nice.
there you go. Well,
there you go,
and like
my
I said,
man.
You're someone who sees, and like I said, I was like, some people see the future, and some people, and there's been two, I think, 80% declines on Bitcoin.
Well,
So to
hold
even
on.
hold
Yeah.
that kind of
Oh,
stuff-
I almost killed myself when it was about 25 grand and it dropped, like about a year and a half ago. Around Christmas, it was.
Ugh.
But no, for me, and I think it comes back to something that KJ said before, is it's investment is about like, you know, and before like StarCraft, I played a lot of poker as well. So like gambling is the same, you know, play with what you can lose, right?
Yeah.
For me, and the investment in this in crypto was like play with what I can lose, and like I didn't care about it, and I was like, you know, I almost had all this money. Oh no, I should have sold. I went down, and then my a good friend of mine actually said, "No, dude, just hold it, just let it sit for a while. It hasn't even been taken up." So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna forget it exists. and like check it every now and then.
That's
And it's done really well. But it's because I had an amount that I could afford not to worry about.
True.
And by having that freedom in the investment as well, it doesn't stress you out. You're not like, oh, I need this cash. Like you're not panicking.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Anyway.
I want to add you to that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Wisecracks.
I was gonna say, it goes to his point about being disciplined. I mean, like, the reason that, like, I just was at a conference literally over the weekend in Austin, Texas, with to hear the chief economist for this big company, and he was uber smart. But one of the things he said, he's talking to a room of advisor people. He's like, you have to understand, like, the most productive people on earth are entrusting you to keep emotion out of it, and not panic and freak out when there's news or when there's stuff. So, like, that's the job. Is anyone can do this. Like, just like I could be my own lawyer. I mean, I would rather hire somebody just because I don't feel like having to go to law school and do all that work. So, like, it's just like people could do this, but do you really want to put yourself full of stress? And there's so much other emotional stuff that you'd rather just kind of check out of it from. So, I don't think about it.
Yeah, I wanted to touch up on getting in early is what we're talking about. So if you notice, like, anything with assets, it could be like Pokemon cards, getting in early, old school Nintendo games, getting in early, all these things over time, they have value to it. So it's the same with, like, the crypto. It's the same with buying a home. Like, everything just eventually over time goes up. So if you do forget about it and you're not worried about it, it's going to go up over time. Like, let's pretend like Bitcoin is what? That's awesome, by the way.
I mean, I've had this for a long time. This wasn't worth money a few years ago. This is worth a lot of money now. Like, because it's Sega, and no one was grading games back then. I mean, so
that was one of my favorite games, by the way, on Sega. So yeah, like, let's pretend the Bitcoin. I don't know what it's at right now, 65 or so grand. Let's pretend that that's the high, and it doesn't go up at all for, like, the next few years. I guarantee you, 5 years later, 10 years later, it's going to go higher than that. It's anything that is going to appreciate over time. So, like, let's say you put in your money into something that is going to stick around. It will eventually go up, is the way I see it. So just forgetting about things, it does help. Not worrying about those things.
Being lazy about it. Yep, that's true.
Right.
I think part of that, right, Chad, man, was you were just lazy too, right? I mean, look, I've been putting money into stocks for a while, right? I didn't really sell. I was like, I don't feel like selling. I don't really need the money. I'm just going to keep it in there. And, like, the Blizzard one, I bought that really cheap, and it went up. I was like, wow, great. Of course, lately it's gone down. But most of it is just my slot. I didn't really want to trade or do any transactions. Like, this is too much work. I'm just going to leave it.
Well, I think that's like a thing that Wisecrack was just putting out then before is that, when you don't know what you're talking about, get someone who does, and that's in business. Like, that's like a universal thing to learn. If I want something artistic, if I want something music, or if I want something, a photographer, I don't take photos myself. I pay a photographer to come and do it. Like, I pay a videographer to come and take the video. Like, if I want these things, if I want someone to do data entry because that's not worth my time, you outsource that, right? And that's for advice, legal advice. You want a good lawyer, you get outsourced. You don't try and learn it yourself. Like, we're all smart people. We could all learn it, right? We'd get there, but do we have the time? Do we want to put that time and effort into it? So, like, outsourcing even advice, and this is not investment advice, right? But outsourcing good investment advice to the right people is always way better. So, like, for me with crypto, it's always been like, I've got some good friends. I've got a cousin of mine is really into crypto. Like, I don't have the time to learn and know everything, and so I've avoided day trading. I've avoided short trading kind of stuff. And I really outsource my advice. I get people to tell me, okay, so I've actually really got to rely on my success with this investment is really not about me. It's a good friend of mine, that gave me the right advice. So I think that's something you can learn. Like, it's a lesson for everything, man. Like, anything you do, when you're building a business, you're building a brand, you get people that are good at different arms of that brand around you, and you make it better. You can't take it all on yourself.
Chad, man, you're a basketball fan, right?
Right? I like the shoes to some extent, yeah.
So I'll tell you a story about paying someone that can do it for you. So I heard that Larry Bird busted his back because he had this work ethic. He wanted to do it himself. So he worked on his driveway or something. He worked the manual labor, and he busted his back doing that. He could have paid someone, and it cost him what to retire early. How many millions of dollars did he lose? He could have just paid a couple of back-breaking work guys take care of his
Exactly.
driver. You know, so
Exactly.
that's something that I
There's no
heard.
shame in doing it.
What's that?
There's no shame in doing that. A lot of people,
Yeah, it's good to do, but
because they don't put in themselves, they don't want to give the stuff away or things like that.
yeah,
Surround
But if-
yourself with people.
Yeah, but if I'm investing in different stocks or different things like that, I want to get a financial advisor or a financial planner or something like yourself, right? To tell me, because I'll make mistakes, right? And so let's think about it on a finance and investment perspective. If I make a bunch of mistakes early on, and let's say I only dabble a couple of grand here and there, and I'll use numbers just for,
Yeah, of course,
for
that's
the,
okay.
the mathematics of it all,
Yep.
and then I lose a couple of grand here and there, where if I had to put it in the right spot, I might have made a couple of grand. And that opportunity cost, right? Now I'm 12 months on. Yeah, look, I know crypto. I've learned it. I've made all the mistakes. I'm 12 months in, but all the values have shifted. All the money that I could have made over the last 12 months is gone. I'm using this as like a relatable example, right? Now I've got my $5,000. I'm going to put it in. I don't know what I'm doing. I've wasted 5, and I know what I'm doing. But that first 5, if you got good advice, could be 15. And now I'm putting in 15, 3 times as much. So your investment asset is much bigger. So that's why you get people. That's like the easiest way to see it is someone like Wisecracks or someone who knows what they're talking about with this stuff can make you like. It's not just they help you make the right decisions, and they'll make mistakes. You don't get 100% of the trades right, but the percentages, like if let's say me learning, I would have done 20% good calls, and I might have gone up a little bit. Whereas if he's going to make 80% good calls, I'm going to go up much more often, much more money, right? It's just the way it works. It's the maths of it all. And Ruff, you know that. You can probably calculate it for us. You're the maths guy. But it's just simple. And that's the best way to break it down is into maths because, pure, there's no wrong with maths, right?
So, something that I've learned is, especially when you're self-employed or running your own business, you have to spend money to make money. So whether you got a loan or whether, like for me, if I want to invest in a better camera for better quality of a product, you have to do that. And so it's like you have your assets, you have to spend money to make money, and then there's that creativity behind it. Are you helping people? That's the way I see things when I do things. So even though I'm streaming, like it's bringing entertainment to people. People love it. They're watching it. But if I was running like a specific business, is this a brand new idea that isn't out there? Usually those are the ones that really, make bank. Or is it something that in this area, maybe like local, I can do this to help other people, So I don't know how to really explain it. I know that there's a lot of people who have this like save mentality. If you're going to save, it's better to throw it in some kind of asset or upgrade the quality of your work, is the way I see it. I feel like saving honestly is for losers. And I was a loser for a long time.
Putting
I
it
would
in a
say
savings
investing-
account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that checking account that pays 0.02. I mean,
Yeah.
not even. It's just like I mean, I have a little box. Me and my mom used to go see movies since I was a little kid. We used to keep our ticket stubs. I never joked. We would like literally a year ago. We went through that box just like at Christmas or something to be like, oh look how long we've been seeing movies. I saw like Gladiator in like 2000. It was like $5. Like I'm telling you right now, you go to any movie theater in America, you're not getting if you're going on a date, tickets, popcorn, food, you're dropping $50.
That's
so like, and I bet you
insane
tickets
now.
on an IMAX.
$50 for a
So you put your,
movies.
it's a- so if you put your money just in nothing but checking, you're losing. You're not losing money. It's guaranteed. It's SIPC insurance, all that stuff. But you're losing purchasing power every year because milk, butter, eggs, guns, bullets, everything gets more expensive.
Oh man,
and your cash is
oh my gosh,
outpaced. It's just the way it is.
you're
So
actually
and it's sad. And now you have inflation that's going to come out of left field. That's pretty bad. And I'm like obviously, dude. Like I'm not giving any advice on this show. I'm obviously an advisor, but like I'm not telling anyone to do anything in particular. But like inflation's coming. I mean, they just printed 40% of the money that's ever been printed in the history of the country out of nowhere, and people are putting it into different things and all. And like it's not like World War II where we printed money to create things and blew them up. Like this is different. Like these things were. people got checks who needed them, and there was PPP loans and all that stuff. But like, it's gonna take time to get in the system. But I mean, you're gonna see prices keep going up for a long time. So
That was the next thing I wanted to kind of talk about, right? Because we're talking about crypto, things are going up, price, inflation is here, house values are insane. I mean, I'm not sure how it is in Australia, Chad, man, but here in the U.S., it's insane.
Yeah, booming.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Inflation is global, right? Do you guys agree? So
I'm very tempted to sell my place.
people
right
want to
now.
know where did they put their money? Where should they put their money? Gold, crypto, etc. I think put it in different things. Don't leave it in one spot. Buy
Who is it?
assets.
Yeah, who is it that said to be financially free you need to have 28 different independent assets? Someone just
Someone
said
said-
that, I
oh.
remember.
Yeah, diversify. That's what.
Diversification, right. And I think, so Rob, when you're saying, should I sell my house? Only if you're going to buy a better one. Like, keep it. Because, so here's the thing, and again, I'm not giving out financial or any sort of advice, but like, if you take debt on a purchase of a property that's an asset, the house isn't going anywhere, right? And then inflation comes, all of a sudden that debt is cheaper. Sorry, my children were screaming. All of a sudden that debt is like, so let's say you owe $1 million on a house, right? And then, or $500,000, and then the investment of that property goes up in value. Inflation comes along. You only owe $500,000 or whatever you borrowed. And then inflation comes along. That they have interest on the debt, but debt's, I don't know what it's like in the US, but taking money from a bank at the moment is cheap. It's lower than inflation for most people. So like, they're giving you money. They're giving you future money. They're giving you buying power. So it's like a no-brainer. The value of the property is going to go up. The value of the money, the debt that you owe is going to go down. Like it's not, $500,000 in. It's like saying $500,000. Let's think of it a different way. 100,000 movie tickets, right? Put it that way. 100,000 movie tickets in 2000 was 500 grand, right? Now 100,000 movie tickets, we just said $50, like 10 times.
Maybe, yeah,
You're talking
something
5
insane.
million, right? If you look at it in that perspective, it's completely like that.
Yeah.
That's the answer, right? It's the value of that debt goes down. Like it's not like money isn't worth as much. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's absolutely appropriate to talk about that here. Inflation, houses, even cars. Cars are insane. I saw the sticker on a Honda Accord or whatever, Toyota Camry. It looks like Lexus prices now. It's insane. So, yeah, keep your
Colleges.
property, man. What's that?
college tuition. I mean,
Oh.
you see some of the schools, like, it's laughable. Like, dude, just start working. I mean, like, I'm not getting, like, again, college is important. I'm not telling people not to go, but, like, you're asking a kid to take $200,000 in debt. And then it's going to take them 20 years to pay that off. And then,
what do they do afterwards? Yeah.
Unless you're from Australia, guys. Go to uni if you're from Australia and it's really cheap.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying, like,
is
honestly,
it subsidized by the government there?
Yeah, completely.
Oh, that's
almost
so
completely.
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like you might go through a medical degree and owe $100,000. You might go through a business degree and owe $20,000. That's it.
That's awesome.
That's Aussie dollars as well, not US.
If I had to guess, the U.S. just from a multitude of different reasons, but I would say like that big scandal where a lot of the celebrities were faking their kids' resumes to get into like Harvard and stuff, like because of stories like that and because of the tuitions, I think like U.S. I can see like the kids that are maybe 15, 16, 17 right now, like they're going to go to University of Barcelona and get a nice cultured experience and go for 10% of the cost of a U.S. school that's not even as good. Or good, whatever. I mean, they're all good, whatever. But like, it's just becoming like a simple, like a financial. Just like, why would I can't go into this much debt? Just for example, like when I was in college, I remember taking my first like finance class. They made you do like a house 30-year payment and stuff like by hand, and how much you actually pay on a $500,000 house with 2.5% over 30, whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember doing the math and like getting to like almost double and being like, I had to have done this wrong. And then they were like, and then the teacher puts the answer, it's like almost double. I was like, why in God's name would you ever do that? Why wouldn't you just put all the money down and just buy it outright? And the guy was like, well, if your interest rate on the house is 2% and you put down 10, you only put down a little bit on that, and then you put the rest in the stock market and you made 80%. Like, and my mind I was like 18. I was just blown. I just never fathomed. I was like, oh, that's why people take loans to build stuff. And like, it just kind of was like, it all kind of just like connected.
I did. And what
Exactly
I mentioned
right.
in the beginning when I refinanced, right?
Yeah, because I work in real estate, I've got friends all the time saying, oh, yeah, man, I bought a house and we're putting heaps of money. We're going to pay it down really quickly. And I'm just like, don't. Just pay what you need to pay. put the rest of your money in investments. Like, again, not financial advice, but like you don't need to. The interest rates are so low. People
Yeah,
don't think about it.
That's
oh,
very
I'll just
good
pay
point.
in cash. I'm like, well, I mean, if you're just filthy rich, okay, because there
Pay
is
it off,
some.
yeah.
Because then if you have a lot of money, like for my most wealthy, like the wealthiest clients I have, there's the whole behavioral finance thing going. Where I say like, is it the best net? Like at the end of the math, is it the cheapest way to just pay it off? No, of course not. But this particular client likes to wake up every day and say my house is paid off. Like she thinks it's going to add an extra 1.7 years of her life in stress and worrying about her bills and crap like that. So like that's where, if you're just doing to a T money, there's always like the right answer, I guess, or like things. But
Yeah.
like there's other like you said, opportunity costs. Like there's a state school versus other schools, or you get now you get like a scholarship or something like that. So there's all different kinds of things that happen in life that you prefer over the others or whatever. But I don't want to ramble.
Yeah, so, inflation is here. We were thinking about just what did we say? Just try to invest in different things, put it out in gold maybe, some in crypto, buy houses, property, keep your cars, especially if you have a car that's decent, keep it, right? Cash,
I would
don't hold
say-
cash. Don't
yeah.
hold cash. Don't hold cash, guys.
Good
Cash
to be
is for
liquid for
suckers.
security.
Isn't that
Yeah,
what
you need emergency funds, man. Like I'm not going to be a financial planner and say don't have any cash on you because then like
yeah, you gotta have
things have
some
to be
cash,
liquid.
but not
You could lose your job and then all of a sudden you need the conventional wisdom is you should have like 6 months if you have the money to even have it. Some people obviously are check to check. I'm not trying to be like insensitive and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, of
Obviously, there's a
course.
lot of people. But what I'm trying to say is if you're talking about like an investment, like what the way you should do it, you have to have some emergency funds. A few months worth.
Well,
or
that's
whatever
your
like that.
your
But, yeah.
limit.
Besides that cash, you're just getting outpaced by almost everything. So.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got to have liquidity. You got to have some level of liquidity so you can mitigate your risk. Because if something might happen, you might get in a car accident, you lose your car. I need to spend money on the car, right? You need to have some sort, or like I need to fix something in my house, whatever it is. You need to have that emergency fund. But don't go like, oh, I've got 100 grand saved in the bank. I'm thinking about buying a house in a few years. Like buy a crap house and then let that grow up, and then sell it and buy the better house in a few years instead of waiting a few years.
So I have a question for you. You know how in movies they say, liquidity, I got diamonds. Diamonds are worthless, right? I mean, they're really not worth anything, right?
I mean, again, like this is.
How you say
I'm
that?
not-
'Cause
I'm
I'm
going
familiar
to-
with that too.
I am going completely political free, obviously, on all this stuff. But that's the diamond industry, in my opinion, is one of the many that is completely manipulated out of its ass.
I'm
to the
I'm
point
with you,
where
dude. That's not
the leaders and
politics,
some of those
man.
people-
That's no.
No, I'm just saying, like a lot of the big, and I'm not going to use any. I shouldn't even use any. A lot of the bigger companies, allegedly, it seems like, hoard stuff to
Artificial rarity.
and that's not like. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
OPEC does that. I mean, it's like they do it with oil. I mean, like there's a if you have the grip on a market, I mean, that's what just market force sometimes unethical people to do and all. But like, yeah, a diamond shouldn't cost a year's salary.
Oh, it was just
For,
it was just marketing, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it does, and then not only that, but there's marketing. Yeah, you convincing people to diamonds and stuff like that, and that's where I mean, again, I see a lot of the younger people that have access to all this information. Like a lot of generations didn't. Like we had the internet, but like I grew up. The internet came out when I was a little younger kid, but like kids that have just been playing with iPads since they're 2 years old. That's going to be a generation that I think they're not going to fall for crap like that. They're going to get morganite rings because they're prettier anyway, and they're $5,000 as opposed to 50. Or you can get a pink morganite instead of a pink diamond or whatever. And you're
you
gonna
know
go to
about
University of
diamonds,
Buffalo.
huh? You're like naming specifics.
Not really. I mean, look, I got to know about a lot of stuff, but I'm just saying, like it's just one of those things where I think. I mean, just to answer your question, yeah, I think you're not a sucker. I mean, but they're totally. It's
It's
just totally
worth
manipulated,
whatever
in my
someone will pay for it, and good luck
Correct.
finding
Yeah.
the right person.
I think the other thing with diamonds and some other investments, and you got to make your own ethical decisions as well. Like you've got to be aware of how they're sourced. There's some pretty shady
Oh, that's
history behind
that's so
diamonds as
true.
well.
Yeah.
And I've never invested in that kind of stuff, and I never would, I don't think. And mostly because I don't know it. But precious metals, sure. But diamonds, I think there's just so much ethical consideration there as well.
Well, I saw the movie, so I'm with you, and then I started reading up on it, and I was like, you know what, forget
Yeah,
it.
you know what diamond? Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like that stuff's pretty accurate. So it's the whole thing.
Kind of like first. But you know, here's the thing that I've noticed too. Watches, man. People are investing in watches. Like Rolexes, they're worth money now. APs, etc. And here's a question I had, right? If you have money overseas, if you transfer it here, there's like in the US, there's a $10,000 limit. You know, they take a look at it, the IRS. I'm not sure how it is in Australia. Chadman, let me know if you do travel. You know, they
Yeah.
make you declare that sucker in the airport or in the plane before you land. You're like, okay, here's a form, IRS form, how much money do you have, etc. So what's to stop someone from buying $100,000 watch and just wearing it? No one's gonna notice. You know, so that's the way to
They-
to what is that? Is that smuggling? What is that called? What
It's
is
the
the official?
non-taxable asset, I think.
Is it
I just think what you're
non-taxable?
bringing, yeah. Well, cash is a foreign cash, or it's like
Mm-hmm.
other things that are
Currencies,
involved in
yeah.
bringing cash into an airport. Yeah, currencies are different, right? When you bring it into a country, so two things is when you we talk about 40% more money in America has been printed this year. If I had $1 million US dollars, I mean that's a really insignificant amount when you talk about the pool of money in the US. But if everyone did it, and I took it and I put it in a suitcase and I left it in my cupboard or a safe in Australia for 20 years, I'm decreasing the supply of cash in the US. So there's other elements, like to minor considerations, I'm sure that they are guessing. They're looking at, but watches. I mean, it's just an asset. That's why people do it. That's why people buy crypto. That's why people. I mean, the NFT thing is a whole wash of money. Like
Oh,
that's
that's
those
another
things aren't
topic.
worth what. Oh man, that's a
That,
whole scam altogether, right? In my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah. I think I'm kind of with you on that. Look, it felt the same way I had with crypto when it first came out. I'm like, what? I'm not doing that. But you know, it just seems to me you can make something worth, oh, this is non-fungible, this is a picture of something. I'm like, well, why can't I just make another picture that's kind of similar but it's different? Then that's the thing that I have a hang up on right now, and especially with the whole NBA shots and like, oh yeah, this is 50K. I'm like, all right, if you really want to hold on to NBA's highlight reel for 50K, 100K, be my guest. You just have extra money. But for me, maybe that's just me. It seems like you guys feel the same way about that.
It's my thoughts on. I'm still mixed, like you said. I'm the best argument for NFTs I've seen is, as far as art goes, is that
Well,
let's
for
say you
art
own the Mona
makes,
Lisa,
yeah.
you have to go to France and stand in line and see it. NFTs, everyone can see it, so you can show off your art to everyone. That's the only benefit I've seen. That's really cool. Everything else I've seen is just like, so I can't just right click it and save it on my desktop. Like,
Take a
but you don't own
screenshot.
it. Okay,
Just take a
well,
screenshot
I
of
don't
it.
care.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
own
So
it. It
now there's
says
something
here.
else. Yeah, there's something to, and again, this is
There you
yeah. There you
go.
go. There's something to and this I'm gonna go on a small tangent here, but like there's a reason that the first ever Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic is so much more valuable than every other one, because they did it as a joke. They didn't think it was going to be popular, and they only printed 3,000 copies. And I bet you a lot of those ended up in trash cans and destroyed, and little kids peed on them or played on them, whatever. Like, not many people sealed them and said, this is going to be a huge franchise 20 years from now. I'm going to
All
seal it
about rarity.
and grade it. And so even the second issue, the first one was such a massive hit. The second issue, so like they made 15,000, 20,000 copies, whatever. So there's something about the Bitcoin, the scarcity. There's only 21 million of them
Well,
left.
now
And when
it's
you're
worth
printing
something for
money
sure. Yeah.
nonstop, you're just things that are finite, like land, for example. Like, there's only so much earth that you can buy things. And there's a lot of swampland, a lot of ocean. Like, there's only so much place you can put a home. So
Good
there's
places.
something to be said about this NFT that is, there's only so many on the blockchain. Blah, blah, blah. I get it, the scarcity part of it,
On
I
that
guess.
blockchain.
And maybe we're going to live in a world 20 years from now where everything's just digital, we're in the metaverse, and we all have goggles on. I don't fucking know. So, I'm not saying don't do it, because I have a client in particular who's got a lot of money in that kind of stuff, and I think I can see it. I've seen dumber stuff. Look at everything behind me. I had Pokemon cards as a joke. You could just print a Pokemon card and put it in the case, and it's not really one of the ones, but you could put it on your wall, I guess. But
they'd know, right?
I like
Wouldn't they
that
know
I
it's
had
not
one that
original?
was
Wisecracks. I mean, they can remake it. There's a reproduction, but wouldn't they know it's not the real one, the original print?
So for the collection stuff, for example, now you're getting into the Magic world. Like, talk to Seraph Six, like, what's Logan, like, him. He's really deep in the Magic world, and I had to start learning about the thing called the reserved list, which are cards that the Wizards of the Coast said, we'll never print these again. And the problem is they're so expensive that people that just want to play the game and build a deck with those cards, they can't. They're literally locked out financially because the deck costs $20,000. So there's something to be said. Well, why can't we just reprint them for the people that want to play. But then the collectors are like, dude, I have a lot of my money in these because I've been holding it for 20 years. You're going to
So
take
make it a
everything, which they
copy. Just
did.
say it's not worth something, just so people can play.
Correct. And I think there's part of it where the collector aspect, it'll still be, well, I have the original one. Everyone can have the cool printed one. I have the original one. Like for example, there's a big Pokemon card that's valuable, the ancient Mew card.
Yeah.
They gave another version of it out to the movie theater for everyone who bought a ticket. So they gave out millions of those that looked almost exactly the same. But you go on eBay, that one's worth $10, the other one's worth $2,000. So, people understand that stuff, and there's, like you said, there's a story behind the Mona Lisa. There's a story behind some of these cards over other ones. But like I said, we're talking about NFTs, and I'm saying is the scarcity of it. If the blockchain really is the future for everything, which it sounds like it could be, I guess, sort of, I don't know. I can see why there's value in it, but I personally, I'm not putting my money in something that someone can just right click and have some. I just don't see that. I'm not that into saying I have the digital monkey with the glasses. Nobody else has the one with the glasses. They have the Mohawk one or whatever. And the money that's being dropped. If it was $100 or something, hey, cool.
Yeah.
You have ownership of a cool monkey that has the glasses. But like, they're selling for like $1 million. I'm like, dude, this is.
And even then, it's just on that blockchain, man.
That's washing money. That's what I'm thinking. Like for me,
I agree.
NFTs at those value. That's where. So there was a big one recently where it was like Wallet 1 transferred this NFT to Wallet 2. Wallet 2 sold it to Wallet 3 for $600,000. Wallet 3 transferred it to Wallet 1 for free. Like that's washing money. That's moving money for some reason to wash it. And it could be just because I've got 3 of the same range that I want to sell. So if I plump them up and say, everyone thinks, oh, this NFT is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and all of a sudden, here's 3 more on the market that I own. When last week they were $100,000, now they're $500,000. I did a fake transaction to make them seem much more expensive, and now I've got these 3 on the market for $1.5 million, not $300,000. Like that's the scam in NFTs, in my opinion. I mean, and things go up, things go down. You can get caught up in the scam, or you can win from it. Like. Sure, but it's like that's not smart. That's not wise money investment. That's just nuts. And that's the kind of thing that the government tax departments are gonna like work out pretty soon, and it's all gonna be over.
And none of you guys have NFTs, because I don't.
No.
But you do have crypto. Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Here. Yeah.
Bitcoin's like digital gold. That's the way to look at it.
Exactly. I'm with you there. It's gold. It's not really currency. No one's spending it no one's buying coffee with it, really. I mean, someone bought pizza a long time ago, but
yeah.
I almost want to separate crypto from Bitcoin and Ethereum, and so like I think those are more established and almost to StarCraft. There'll always be a StarCraft league because it's like a cultured part of the American history. Like I think those two are already embedded in the stuff. Some of these other ones, though, I mean, dude. People are just making coins up and just getting money.
Yeah, there's definitely different levels, right? There's what they call shit coins. They're just making them, and there's no real use. There are some
pure speculative value, pump it up.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what the meme coins are really in reality, which we're giving away, by the way, guys. I'm giving you 100,000. That's how much it's worth to me. I'm giving them away. I bought a ton of them. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give these away. So I'm gonna give 100K Shiba coins later. We'll pick somebody, but yeah, I mean, it could be worth something. Who the heck knows? But I don't advise you spending a lot of money into those that you don't intend to lose, man. Speaking of gambling, have you guys gone to casinos and had fun doing that? I mean, you that's your mindset, right? You just go in there. Hey, I have $5,000. I'm gonna lose this, but I'm gonna have fun. If I make money, great. If not, no worries. I got comps. I'm gonna eat and enjoy the hotel, etc. Right?
You gotta remember, even the best poker players are like I should say more like sports bettors. The professionals, a good year for them is like 69%, 70%. Like it's a really, really good year.
The win percent? What's that 69%?
Like 60. Like a sports bettor. Like let's say like if they're like a professional sports bettor, a good year for them is going 69, 67, 70%.
Yeah.
Like you're losing tons of bets all the time. And a bad year is. Like that's the part where like that's the kind of a live by the sword, die by the sword, man. You can make a lot of money in poker and doubling up and
but there is skill in poker though. That's the thing though, and I like betting money.
And then all of a sudden, like I've been there where like you just like lose 3 spins. You're like I had $500 to have fun with, and it's gone in 2 seconds. Like
yeah, I've lost some money betting, betting NFL games, just kind of gambling it away. But then I had this one year where I won so much, my bookie fired me. He's like, I'm not taking bets anymore. But if I add it all up, I think I was kind of even or under, a little under, but it's definitely just a crapshoot. You don't really know. But poker is different though, right? There's skill in there, right?
That's a skill. That's why I changed sports betting. I was like,
Okay,
poker's
sports
a different.
betting.
That's like a soccer. Yeah, poker's still tough though because at the end of the day, it's still there's math involved, and there's no. Oh, I definitely know I'm gonna fucking beat this guy.
Ah,
So
yeah,
that's
and there's
like,
the bluffing thing and
there's a
reading
reason
them.
that the same.
You have to understand your players too. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Like, there's a line from that movie with Edward Norton and Matt Damon. Why the hell can't I think of the poker movie? Either way, but it says like there's a reason that the World Series of Poker tend to have the same people at the final table, ish, like roughly, like let's say the final 100 people are similar names, just like in StarCraft. Like the people that make it to BlizzCon, maybe there's a new player of the year, like a couple breakers. Tends to be innovation and Mario are always in the mix because there's just it's an imperfect game of information, but you can be so fucking good at it that you're better than everybody else. That's the way I see it. That's why a lot of obviously you guys know, a lot of ex-StarCraft players, they become killer poker players because it's slow.
Oh yeah, a
StarCraft.
lot of them end up
Keep
playing
tracking.
professional.
Yeah.
He went professional poker, right? I
Yeah.
believe.
So
Ooh.
someone's asking me
Kiwi
here
Kaka?
about.
Yeah.
This is not really a crypto show per se. We're not experts at crypto, but someone's asking about costs with crypto. Here's one thing I noticed, and I hated this. Right, I bought some Ethereum. I had to pay this gas fee or whatever. I'm like, okay, great. I just paid some taxes on it, and then I used it to buy something else. I had to pay more, and then there was like different costs when you actually make the transaction. When it's busy, the network's busy, the price is like way up. It was insane. And so to me, I'm like, all right, dude, I'm just gonna leave my money here and just deal with it later. It's kind of like this whole new world. It goes back to Chadman's what he's saying. Get someone that knows it, studies it, ask them, and let them be the experts at it, right? So I read a little bit about it, but it was just so much stuff. What do you guys do with your crypto? You just leave it and that's it? I mean, I know that's what you did with your Bitcoin, but voice cracks. I know you're not supposed to say something, but
I mean, I admit my crypto advice mainly, I'd say 90% of it comes from the buddy who bought StarCraft on day one. He's a CFA, which is like a chartered financial analyst, which is one of the higher designations in like the finance industry you can get as far as the math side goes. He's an astronaut. I mean, he's just he's like rough. Like he's just like I'm sure you could get if you said like I don't even want to try to pursue that. Like, I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm good at math, but like that's the kind of math that's like, dude. Like it's just so much, and the failure rate on those tests are so low. Like I just don't have time. I have other things I got to do in my life. But my point is, he's a crypto head. I mean, I would say 70% of his assets are in crypto, and he's been killing it. And but he's also when there's those big dips, he's a wreck because he has probably too much of his worth in it. And I only because of the growth of the stuff behind me, I probably have too much of money in this because if I really needed to sell it all immediately, that's not how this stuff works. Like you got to find a buyer. I mean, a lot of these items I have are like could sell in one day if I put it at a 10% discount.
keep
but like
it cheap enough.
some of these are obscure, and I'd have to explain to someone why it's so rare and cool and like totally random. But like the last Ronin, like the cool Turtles comic right now, Justin Roiland, the guy who created Rick and Morty, drew this cover and signed it. So like you'd have to find a really hardcore Rick and Morty fan, and it's fine. There's only like a certain amount of these, but like the average person's like, why I don't want that. Like I don't have no interest in that. So you'd have to find a Turtles fan who loves Rick and Morty to probably sell that.
Oh, that's a good point.
Where a stock you can just put the order in and sell it immediately. So there's a case of having having liquid and being able to be free and liquid and sell things immediately, which is a crypto thing too, I guess. But I just follow my buddy. He loves Bitcoin, he loves Ethereum. He explains them to me. I can understand them. I can explain them to other people, except for the idea of where they came from and who invented it. That's the part.
That's the technical side. Well, I'm on the technical side, so I kind of understand how that works, and that's why I kind of laugh about the NFT blockchain thing. I was like, well, just make it a separate ledger, make your own separate thing. And that's the thing, right? Like you said, copy and paste it, screenshot it. No, you have a copy, kind of thing. So that's the hard part. I'm not saying I'm not gonna do NFT in the future. Maybe if there's a universal where everyone's on the same thing, and for sure, no one, that's the key. It's kind of like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, right? It's on the same ledger. Everyone's on it now. It's not gonna go away, I don't think. Dogecoin may go away pretty soon. Who knows? Shiba may go in, but Ethereum, Bitcoin, yeah, and there's a few other things in there. But listen, we're not crypto experts. These are just our impressions. So I want to go back and ask Chad, man. Look, you sound like an old head advising the young gamers already. from the beginning, how did you feel? How come you have that much wisdom to impart on the younger gamers? When you were telling them about esports, just life in general, business. Like, how did you get that way? It sounded like you already knew from pretty early on.
I think it's learned behavior. Like and you've got other people, mentors and things like that to help you out with these kind of things along the way. But for me, it was just like going through the process. I'm a bit older than I'm, in my 30s, a bit older than most of the guys that were playing StarCraft 2 competitively. And I've gone through, I think similar to what Wisecrack said, I was a young guy in an old guy's industry. So I think you gotta, when you're in that world, you've got to be like, the face might be like, people turn up and go, oh, you're the young guy. I don't know if I can trust you, or you know what you're talking about, or whatever. So you just got to have that absolute technical ability, so people can kind of see, hang on, you're way better than these older guys. You know your stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you're definitely, so you got to impress people in different ways. So I think working hard and learning that stuff really got me through there. But my background, like, obviously my interest in StarCraft 2 was from Brood War, but through all of this stuff, I was poker player before StarCraft 2. So I used to play a lot of competitive poker and travel around for that.
Very
So
cool.
for me, and then when you were talking about that before, like, yeah, 100%, it's about maths, it's about people, it's about psychology, and it's a little bit about balls and having a bit of a gamble. So there's like those elements, but like I've played poker with people who are rubbish and not looked at my cards for half an hour because I don't need to. I can look at the people. Like you
That's
need to be able to
interesting.
read people. And that's one of my skills. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not super good at heaps of things. Like, I'm a pretty average StarCraft player and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not trying to have a big head, but I'm good at reading, really good at reading people and kind of seeing what's behind them, what's behind it, and that helps me in business. That helps me understanding people and helping them, knowing what they really need. When you hear someone talk about what's going on, when you can hear what they really need, but also just helped with poker, helped with my business as well. So. That's just a bit of a lucky skill that I've got, and everyone's got their strengths. Everyone's got the thing that they can be good at, and that's just what I was blessed with, I suppose.
Very nice. And reading people, wisecracks, man, wisecracks.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. I was just to jump off what he said. There's so much to know about people that like 50%. I saw a stat one time, like 50%. This was maybe a few years ago, so just forgive me. Someone will be like, it was actually 56%. Where like 50% of the CEOs in the Fortune 500 companies don't even have business degrees. They have psychology degrees and they have sociology degrees because they understand people, they understand organizations, they understand how to get a group of people motivated to do X or whatever. They don't need to know, accounting and overhead projection costs. They just know how to get people, like an Elon Musk, for example. He got in a lot of hot water on the Rogan show because he said, I'm not really because he didn't know something about the company. I forget. He's like, dude, I'm just like, I'm an inventor. I'm an engineer. Like, I'm not a business guy. And like, he got thrashed for that. But like, he's surrounded. It's like what Chad said. Like, you're surrounding himself with other people that really know business. That's the point.
Yeah.
Because you are the personality that brings that other really productive people want to work with because you're the visionary or whatever. Like some of the best game designers. I love the story of Mortal Kombat. I love that there was 4 guys that created the game: Ed Boon and John Tobias. There was their programmer, an artist guy, a sound guy. Now that the Nether team, I mean, it's probably thousands of employees because there's just now everybody wants to work for the guys that made Mortal Kombat. And I don't think Ed Boon is in the weeds anymore programming these games. I mean, he's doing other things for the company. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like Bill Gates probably hasn't worked on Windows in a really long time. So there's something about you got to grind it first. And the thing that I like what you just said is you have to have conviction in yourself. Like, you have to. The most successful people bet on themselves. And to do that, you got to know what the fuck you're talking about. Because if you bet on yourself, you might get lucky. And like most of the people that a lot of people want to come at the rich guys and the CEOs and stuff, and plenty of them are disgusting Bond villain scumbags, and they have reasons they hate them. But a lot of these people, like, if you really know their stories, like they grinded really hard. Like, Amazon was a freaking book website.
Yeah.
It sold books. Like Dell, for example, their value was, everyone used to have a computer store and have stuff on the walls, and you went in and bought a computer that they already had inventory and paid for. Dell, their model at first was, you send us the specs you want, give us the money up front, and then we'll send you the computer exactly the way you want. And having your business model taking money in all the time first before you have crap rotting on your inventory, that was a kind of an innovative way for a computer company to do it. Now Dell dominates. So, and now they don't just rely on that. But my point is, like, there's a way to infiltrate in, create your name, get your buzz, and then ride the wave a little bit. And some of it's luck, some of it's stuff, but you have to have conviction and you have to bet on yourself. That's the one. If I'm going to give advice to anyone here, it's like, believe in yourself. And I don't want to sound too corny, but like, believe in your I don't know, like, you got to believe in what you're doing, and to do that, you got to know what you're doing. So grind and look it up, and then, try your best, That's
Something I've learned the past 2 years is that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're doing it wrong. Because if I go into the room and I'm the smartest guy, I'm not learning anything. I'm not going to improve on anything. You always have to do that research. You have to, whatever it is, like KJ, you're talking about the Ethereum thing. Like, I do my research on it. There's so many different ecosystems going into it right now. I feel like that's going to be a big thing here soon, just like the Bitcoin is. If you're trying to get into a particular business and you don't know anything about it, you've got to learn about it. So you have to surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, So it comes with everything. It comes with hard work and effort. It just, the money doesn't just grow on trees. Everybody wants it that way. But even with this investing in stocks and things like that, or assets, or making your own business, coming up with a cool idea, it all comes down to putting in that kind of work. It could be easy work if you know how to make it easy, but you always have to find something to learn in order to make something work. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
Wisecracks, you brought something up there about, these quote CEOs, guys that made it. They just kind of Bond villains. They just kind of the caricature of them being just some rich guy. But in reality,
Right.
a lot of them have a story where they, as you mentioned, right? They started from somewhere, hustled, then got successful, and then, the rest is history. But they're kind of like you and me. They started somewhere. And so, when I meet these guys, I'm in the club, like, the exclusive business car club or whatever, right? And the reason I love it there is not because I love the car. It's because I meet these people that have some really interesting story. And I learn from them. And I ask them, like, hey, so what do you do? That kind of thing. What do you for advice? Dude, it's so much cool stuff you learn from it. It's so worth. So if I was you, if there's some club, some group, even if it's maybe a yacht club is not there, you can't do, right, Chad, man, you can't, because you got to get a yacht. But if there's some sort of business group that you can join, a car group that you can join, right, or whatever it is, even some CEO group, yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys have got it in the States, but we've got like Toastmasters, right, where you learn about public speaking, and it's like a lot of the time it's like business people wanting to be better at networking or speaking in a public setting. So it's about making toast, but that's where it came from. But really, it's about people that want to be able to talk in front of other people that have got something to tell. And you can go there and you can meet some amazing people, or like small business communities, like all these little different things. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got something that they've learned. And like, if you've only got so much time in your life, whatever, to learn things, how can you have more time? You talk to other people who've lived a life, who've had experiences, and that's how you can compound it.
That's a good point. Save from making the mistakes. They'll save you some of the easy problem. It's kind of like going in SC2, right? That's why you look at build orders. They kind of know what works. Right? You're like, oh, let me just try this out. I think this will work if I do this. And then you just kind of experiment. Like, wait, dude, there's already the most optimized build. Maybe you can be a max back to figure something new out. But odds are you're not. So save some time. Go study the builds. Talk to some experts. Talk to Rough experiments on builds. But he's different, right? But the rest of us, there's a build order to a business that you can talk to.
I'll tell you what, right? As far as if this isn't financial advice, this is some entertainment advice. There's a show on Netflix right now called High Scores. There's High Score or High Scores.
High Score.
I think it's High Score. It could be High Scores. It's like a 6-part docuseries about like the history of gaming from Atari all the way to Doom, the release of Doom, and the ability to side scroll seamlessly on a computer. And I recommend everyone watches it because, one, it'll blow your mind how a lot of these franchises that are now hundreds of billions, hundreds of millions, or maybe even billions of dollars that have generated, how they started so simply, or as a mistake, or as a, hey, this would be kind of cool. And I'll just ruin not ruin it, but I'll just quickly say, like, Ms. Pac-Man was created by a bunch of MIT students that had pinball machines in their dorm that they bought to make money off quarters off their friends, and said, like, why don't we just rent this room and buy pinball machines, we'll pool our money. And then over the spring break, they were playing Missile Command and said, you know what, like, let's open up the case, let's look at the chips and stuff, because I think we can make this game harder, because they were losing money because people were getting so good at Missile Command that they would play on one quarter. So they said, how can we make it harder? And they essentially created a mod for Missile Command that made it really, really hard, and people were loving it because these MIT kids couldn't get enough of it, and they kept pumping quarters in. They got sued by Atari and said, you are making illegal modifications to our game and making money off of stuff that we're not getting a piece of. And because they were doing it to Pac-Man, well, they were working on Pac-Man. So what they essentially, not to ruin the story, but this is just episode 1 of part 1, but like Atari ended up settling with them and said, how about you just work for us and we'll release the game under a different name called Ms. Pac-Man. So like my point is, like,
cool.
Ms. Pac-Man is successful games of all time. It was created because 4 guys were like, hey, this is interesting. Let's kind of see this differently and change something. And then they bet on themselves. When most people would have folded when they got sued by Atari for like $10 million. And they would have been like, okay, I'm so sorry. They were like, no, screw you. We didn't do anything wrong. And do something about it. And they were like, okay, fine. How about you work for us and we'll keep the technology and we'll keep it all in-house. And they're like, okay. And other super successful engineering guys, blah, blah, blah. So it's the guy who invented Pokemon used to collect bugs as a kid. And when they invented the Game Boy technology of the cable link, he saw little bugs walking across. He's like, dude, we could trade bugs. And that's the #1 franchise in the history of this planet is Pokemon.
Pokemon is the really?
As far as revenue generating,
as game?
We're higher than Mickey Mouse that has a 100-year head start or 70-year head start.
Wow.
Higher than Winnie the Pooh that has like a 60-year head start. Yeah, Pokemon prints money, man. Little pillows and underwear and slippers and stuff. But then, because I mean, that's a game where you had to buy 2 copies of the same freaking game to even beat it. So like their motto from the get-go was catch 'em all, buy both games and the Win cable, and get your friend to buy a Game Boy too. Like, I mean, like they print money. But my point is, though, it was just an idea that some guy had. Now it's huge. So you just got that guy bet on himself. He had to make a lot of hard decisions, and some of it's luck and stuff, and it's not going to work for everybody. But like, it's the only way to live, man.
Yeah, I missed the Pokemon thing. I was too old already by the time Pokemon came out. But Jesse Ruff here, we were on the trip at Cheesadelphia, and this dude was playing Pokemon Go. And I was like, what are you doing, man? We're in the streets of PA, man. There's a Cheesadelphia in there. We got our Airbnb. And this dude's like, hey, can we stop over here? I need to catch something. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, what are you doing, man? I don't know this area. And it's like, yeah, let me just catch this thing. So, this Pokemon thing is insane.
Oh, that was in Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, it's Cheesadelphia. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And
that
he wanted to catch a Lickitung because they're kind of rare.
That's insane. Do they have that in Australia too? Did it expand there? It's crazy.
We have like Australia specific Pokemon on Pokemon Go. Like there's some boxing kangaroo or something that you can only catch in Australia.
Wow.
That's awesome. We need to take
That's what people were doing.
Travel to Australia to catch them all. You know what I mean?
You
Yeah.
have to literally trade in order to do that. In my area, it's a vine whip or something, or a plant or something like that. It's only in North Carolina, and then if you go down to Florida, it's only a I think it's it's like a shell or something that you can only get down there. There's one other one I forget. Oh, it's that beetle. It's not like the pincher beetle, but the other one. Yeah, the blue one. Yeah, you can get that in Florida only. So when I go down to Florida, I catch them, and if I meet my super nerdy friend, I just start trading with him because he wants to get a perfect one at some point.
But people were like editing
the
their location on their phone. I don't know how to do it, but they were editing where the phone thought it was. Maybe using a VPN or something. I don't know. So they could be in Australia to catch this kangaroo Pokemon. Or like, they were doing it at that point, and then people were like,
the geolocation, basically.
Yeah.
You could see that kind of trading from a different standpoint too. Imagine if someone has all of the Pokédex and they're like, "Here, I want to sell my account." I don't know if it's against the terms, but that's not going to stop anybody from doing it. So there's like an asset right there if he's good enough, So it's surprising, They have these accounts like RuneScape and whatnot where they do it online too. So,
Go to
it's
eBay right now and type in Pokemon Go account. It'll blow
They
your mind.
sell
You
accounts?
can get
Wow,
I've never done that before.
that's
dude
insane.
max accounts with all the Pokemon that are shiny. I'm telling you right now, 10 grand. People
10
selling accounts.
grand? Well, I guess that's the same when they sell the World of Warcraft stuff, right?
Yeah, so look at Diablo 2 items. I mean, God, you kidding me? It's all that stuff. Like you said, RuneScape Gold. I mean, people want to save time.
I
So,
used
So
to do Guild Wars a long time
Oh yeah.
ago, and they had the crystalline sword, which was super rare, but only very few people knew about this very special spot. And I would go do a run there often, and sometimes it would drop, and it would be a gold one. And nobody knew about it. It was in the middle of nowhere in the game that nobody would go to. It's pretty
how
crazy.
did you get
And
there? It's luck?
I love the game so much. I played it so much. It's kind of like StarCraft that I just explored. And I went by myself, and I'm like, what is this thing over here? What is this chest? They eventually removed it, which is kind of funny. But I've already exploited it so much that now my account is like, I have all the special armor and all that stuff to make, I didn't have to pay a single cent. I just knew about the game. Like my content knowledge of the game was so high. So yeah, it's crazy. Like it's like that research, that knowledge, that passion that you have to have whatever you're doing. So yeah, it's like you apply it to business as well. Like whatever you're gonna do, make sure it's something you're gonna like, you know, um, that you're gonna love to do. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
I have a question,
So
guys. With Pokemon Go, can't really play it as much in different countries now, right? Because we're not traveling as much as we used to, right? Is Australia still locked down? Are you guys still locked down there?
mostly unlocked, but still some restrictions. Like you can't go into
Gotcha.
some states if from other states, things like that.
Gotcha. Because man, I'd love to go there. Because there were some tournaments there that I wanted to visit. Even the pig, small, the tournament in his house. I was like, oh, that sounds like it's fun. Wisecracks were up. We should go visit them sometime.
I'm
Like,
in, bro.
yeah, I wanted
The
to do
odds
that.
Oddscraft was a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys caught much of that. It was like the start just before the COVID lockdowns. It was January 2020. That was heaps of fun. We had Roddy come down. We had
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that. That
a
was cool.
couple of American players
Yeah, I think
came
Vindicta
down.
was there.
Yeah. He's a cool guy. He's a really nice guy.
I love Roddy
And
so much.
yeah, and Roddy was there, and it was a lot of fun. They set it up with this big house, and we all stayed there, and Roddy and I took everyone's money in poker every night. It was great fun. It was like we were just destroying everyone every night.
I'm
There was one
sure.
guy that would just be like, buy in again, $50, $50. Like you just kept
Oh my
going, and we're
gosh.
like, come on, that's all right. But no, those kind of events. I mean, they're so much fun. Yeah,
So
you should
we
come
were
down.
gonna do something similar with SciStorm's 7 year anniversary, but we're gonna rent a place, do this thing, and I was like, man, it's hard to travel. It's really not. A lot of the people that want to come, they can't really come, and it's just really tough. So maybe it'll be an 8 year anniversary instead. But the whole LAN home story cup thing is something that we've been trying to do here in the U.S. scene, right? So we've had Cheesadelphia is a Cheesadelphia, right? But it's a tournament type of thing. We had some side storm cups, etc. But renting a place and just having a tournament, that's really what I wanted to do for a while. But now we're gonna have to wait again because who knows? Maybe, how long do you guys think? Another 6 months to a year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, every country is going to be different, and vaccination status will
Mm-hmm.
change things a bit as well for you. But I think it'll be 6 months to a year
I
before
think
people are
U.S.
coming to
is.
Australia. Our government's notoriously strict. I
Oh,
think you
they're
guys probably have
stricter.
heard that all over there. Yeah,
Korea is
the
strict.
Australian government's been pretty strict. Yeah.
Korea's like
But
2 weeks.
yeah, we had that. We've had that the whole way through. I think it hasn't even finished. Like, if you came over from the US, you'd have to be in quarantine for 2 weeks.
So
Um,
ours is not that bad then. Wisecracks rough because ours, I think you just need to show proof of vax and or some sort of proof of no negative test or something, some negative test. So we're pretty open. But I think yeah, that's why the South Korean travel there, right? A lot of people can't compete in GSL because they have to wait 2 weeks quarantine in a hotel. Who the heck has the gamers spending money? Even if you have the money to spend in a hotel for 2 weeks, that's boring as hell, man. You gotta stay in there.
they do
You're in
that as
you're in a
well.
yeah, you're in a foreign country, but you can't get out of your hotel. That sucks.
Yeah, it's a shame too, and one of my lawyer buddies was telling me that so many companies just don't know what to do with this liability wise. Like they just don't like a lot of they just and that's why they just cancel stuff. They just don't even want to
They don't want to
because
deal with it.
there's still like unwritten like well, what happens if someone gets it and comes and gets killed at your event afterward? Like nobody wants to go into that, and I don't blame them. I mean, quite frankly, I mean like especially last year, like everyone was upset that some of these tournaments were getting canceled and all this. Like,
Yeah.
It's hard to get 80,000 people to come and sit next to each other and breathe on each other like they used to, So
Well, Katowice
it's a shame. It's just a shame. It is. I feel very thankful that I went to as many BlizzCons as I did because I don't think it ought to be the same that way anymore. Like,
have you been,
maybe
Chad, to
I
a
don't think
BlizzCon?
anymore ever.
I've never been to a BlizzCon. No.
Ruff, you been?
I have not.
You have not?
I
I
would
went to
love
a
to.
couple. I wish I'd gone more. I actually had tickets I gave away a few times because I couldn't go, but I went to a couple, and I'm glad I went. Until now, it's, there's no SC2 in BlizzCon, really, so I'm like, I don't feel like going, right? But
Yeah.
Katowice is the new BlizzCon, and that, I think, is back.
I've never been there either. I would love to go there.
Poland, man.
So, yeah.
That's in what?
And I just love that. I love that tournament.
Literally the other side of the world for me. Like it's
Is it March?
a long way away. Yeah.
I want to go there in March.
Yeah,
But all right, well, look, guys, we kind of had just a chit chat. We didn't really have a list of topics. That just shows how good you guys are at talking. You just kind of like, oh, let's talk about this. And we had a lot in common. We just talked about whatever. But what do you guys think?
It's fun.
I had a lot of fun
I had a great time.
having you guys. Yeah. Chad, man, thanks for
Sure.
coming on, man. Why don't you give us
Thank you.
why don't you type on chat where we can reach you? What about you? And maybe there's a team that you support now, a shout out, and maybe we can check out the players you help out.
Me?
Yeah. Look, I'm not really too deeply involved these days.
But
you
you're
can
paying
reach me on
attention,
Twitter.
right?
Yeah, that's me on Twitter, Chadman SC2. I pay attention. I'm around. I like to talk. I'm always happy to talk to people and give advice and thoughts and questions. You can always message me if what I've said is interesting. Shoot me a message. I think that's one of the things that when you start to learn something and you know it and you've learned it from other people, you should respect the knowledge that was passed forward and pass it forward yourself. You've always got to have time. And I think one of the best things someone can ask you is, hey, have you got a minute? And then if someone says, I've got two, respect the two, but ask questions and always happy to help. But, I really appreciate having you guys on, always cheering for SC2 from the beginning, from over here. You guys have been a great team. You picked up some good players. So shout out to SC2, shout out to all the guys that have ever gone through, the teams that I ran, like Frenetic Ray, people like Hut, Aegis, Betrayus, those guys are all, old brothers to me. And they're still around. A lot of them are still around, or Hut and Aegis are getting pretty deep in Age of Empires now, which is fun for them. Always just follow some good StarCraft and enjoy it.
Great. Yeah, and I love the Australian scene. You guys have this pro league thing going on, and the production. I was like, man, this is really cool. So check that out, guys. Wisecracks, man. Tell us about yourself. Maybe you can post there on your chat, on the chat here. How do they reach you?
Oh, yeah.
You're a stand-up comic. We didn't really, or you did that at one point. We didn't really get into that too much, but
I did that in college. I was in a band. I was doing stand-up. I was writing a movie. I was trying to do everything possible to maybe never have to work ever. But unfortunately, that didn't pan out. I had to get a job. I still write stuff. I'm still doing stuff. I'm actually trying to get back into stand-up now because the local club in Philadelphia is called Helium. That's kind of like the famous one. They're having trouble staffing it, and they need help. So I might even just go up there and just see if they need stuff and just kind of integrate back into the culture a little bit and get my channel my anger in a different way than Twitter. So you can follow me on Twitter at the Wisecracks, but beware, I'm inflammatory. But as far as what he was saying, I'm always open. You can hit me up on Discord. You can hit me up on Twitter. Anything you want. I might not get back to you immediately, but if you send me a message and it's thoughtful-ish, I will absolutely answer and give you as much time as you want. So. Because, like I said, a lot of people did that for me. I was very lucky. I'm fortunate. I'm in a family biz. Like I said, everyone told me all the stuff behind me, all that stuff. Everyone told me I was an idiot for doing that. But besides that, I've been very lucky.
They were wrong.
So like I said, I was surrounded by a lot of successful people that were, giving me advice from when I was 10 years old. So, it's I got no problem helping anybody out. But yeah, just at Wisecracks, WIZECRAX on Twitter.
There you go.
That's pretty much it, man. I don't really do social media too
Why
much.
don't you show off your shirt, man? I want to check that out. What is that? What you got there, man? There's the plug.
I think it says Wisecracks on the back still or something like that, right? I can't really tell. I'm not gonna twerk on camera. I'm not gonna twerk on camera.
That's the original jersey. Nice.
Well, the old school, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Steven Prestige actually
now that's a collector. That's a collector item now, right?
Actually, literally, there's a true story. Like 2 weeks ago, I was.
Oh, you show that one. Show that, Chad.
Yeah, that's old school. Look at that.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, I was rocking this in Disney World, man.
Nice, man.
It was like, are you a pro gamer?
Yeah, exactly. So, what about you, Ruff?
Yeah. There you go.
Tell us about your, self. I mean, they know you. Most people know you, so tell us something about you and your business that they don't know. Something that like they'd be surprised about, because now they know you're into business stuff, right? You're doing other things.
You mean me, right? Because you kind of jumped out.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So there's quite a bit of things. I'm doing obviously just streaming. Streaming, it goes a lot of different ways. I consider it my main thing because that's where the majority of my revenue comes from. So I do the streaming on Twitch. I'm doing the YouTube. I'm trying to see if there's anything else connected to that. Not at the moment. I do a little bit of social media, Twitter. And then I do math tutoring on the side. About 6 hours a week. It's not a lot, just a little something here and there, And then I also do a little of outsourcing sales. So I've mentioned that a few times on my stream. And yeah, you want to elaborate a little bit?
Oh yeah,
on that,
well,
AJ?
you're the company that helps you is a sponsor. Is sponsoring our team too. So obviously it's cool to plug them a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I do a little outsourcing sales for Lennox US. So if you guys are interested in maybe creating a product, possibly creating an app, a website, literally anything, you have a great idea that might be able to build a business, you can go ahead and you can always shoot me a message if you'd like, or you can check out the site and shoot a message on the website as well. We'll get to you with that. Yeah. So it's really cool.
Yeah, great. So yeah, that Lennox says some of the people have seen that sponsoring the PSISTORM Esports Network. That's on the New Jersey. So if you guys check out the New Jersey, they're on there. And always good to plug them, right? For supporting SC2 in esports. All right, well,
Scarlett.
I'm sorry.
Today, right? Scarlett, didn't she killed it today? I was actually flying.
I caught the VOD, and typically I try not to talk about it because there's probably people like me that catch it late, but now it's late enough that they caught the VOD. It was kind of cool to see her get that top form.
One of my favorite early memories of her, actually, I'll tell you what, when I was first getting into SC2, that GSTL, remember that? They had like the team leagues.
It wasn't
many seasons we did. Yeah, she was on the Acer team. One of her first games, dude, she played against MVP, like right after he was just like, unstoppable for a couple of years. And it was so insane. Her creep spread was into his natural. Like he was maybe going for his third. Her creep was at his end of the map. And like he couldn't make a supply wall because there was creep on the ground. And I remember just being like, this is insane. Like, I've never seen anybody creep a map like that as fast and as efficient as that. Like and then she just blew him away with a Bailey bust. And I remember she came back to the booth. She was like, and I was like, dude, this chick's badass, man. So I've been a huge fan of her for years. I love her.
Well,
so,
I think a lot of us have been fans of her. Since we're talking about Scarlett, I'll give you my Scarlett story. I was playing on a tournament online, and this Into Power Zerg name, right? I was like, what is this? And I looked at the account. It was like an old Grandmaster from Wings of Liberty. So I was like, I can beat this person. So I played ZVZ, and I had this great thing going. And then, boom, it lagged. And then I lost because, it was ZVZ, Banelings. Once it lags, you're screwed, right? And then it happened again the second time. I was like, oh, and I messaged this person. I was like, hey, it lagged, which really sucked. And then the response was the frown face, but respectful. So I was like, well, good luck. And then I find out later it was Scarlet, and I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter if it lagged or not. I would have lost anyway.
You were gonna, yeah. I was
she
feeling you
didn't.
were gonna lose
She
that
didn't
pain.
tell me it was Scarlet because I knew of her and she knew of me at the time, right? But she didn't tell me it was just the funniest thing, and I'm like, I had this delusion that I was gonna be no way, no matter what. All right, well, guys, for me, I'm still around, SciStorm, etc. I'm just into a lot of things, cars, games, esports, business stuff. So you guys can catch me on my channel. But thanks, guys, for hanging out with us, especially your crypto kitty there. What's the name?
This is my little Bond cat right here.
Bond cat.
He's
All right,
Kresnik.
cool,
This is my Dr. No cat. But
awesome.
I'm up to my evil
Oh, there you
plans.
go,
I cook his
cat
belly.
lovers here. Oh,
Nice.
look, Gemma is looking for a cat.
He's looking for a
Cat. Yeah, no,
Looking
no.
for a cat. No cat, huh? I had a cat, but she died a couple years ago, and I haven't gotten a new one yet. But
Oopsie. I'm upside down
There
now.
we go. Upside
the cat
down.
did it. The
Suspended
cat.
from the ceiling.
I was gonna say I have a cap. Does
Oh,
that
okay.
count?
Close enough. All
I
right.
ruined that joke.
But listen, guys, it was
Thanks for the
great.
invite, bro.
Yeah, great hanging out with you guys. Thanks for joining us on the first episode ever of this show. And I learned a
Thanks for
lot
having
from
me.
you guys. I really learned a lot from you guys, and hopefully the audience did too. So, check it out on YouTube, and we'll see you guys later. Right? You guys have a good
Yeah,
day
man.
Thanks so much.
and
Thanks a lot, guys.
safe.
In time,